There we go. Okay, so welcome everyone to the state round of Indian Debating League. I am Devika Khanna and I will be moderating this round. So let's quickly say hi to your educator of the day, that is Kaushiki Ishwar. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I hope you're doing good as well.
Likewise, ma'am. So I'll introduce Kaushiki ma'am now. She has been the chief educator for BEHEST 2022. She's also the National Asian Parliamentary Debate 20. She has been the debate coach at LearnyQ, Open Quarter finalist Vivad 2022, ISDS Central State Selection Judge 2022, Novice finalist the 14th IIT Bombay Debate 2022, and many more. So it's a great pleasure to have you, ma'am, with us today. Looking forward to the match.
Thank you so much, Devika.
Perfect. So the match is going to be between Team Rajasthan and Team Madhya Pradesh from category 4 to 6. The motion of the round is this house will reserve seats on the basis of domicile in cities known for higher education. Now, it's really important for us to understand why we have picked this motion and what makes it important. All right. So Dubai and Bahamas frees its citizens from paying heavy taxes. The people of a state of which they are citizens and permanent residents are given a certain leverage for better quality of life in that particular area. Should there be mandatory domicile reservations for students of particular state in which the university is, or does that breach ethics and principles of responsibility on the state government's part? I hope that's understood and that clarifies why the motion is important. Moving further, the speech is going to be for 3 minutes each. All right. So before we start the match, I would quickly iterate some ground rules. Number one, I request all the debaters to please be on camera as it is considered for evaluation as part of manner. Second, Kaushiki ma'am will let you know how she is going to keep the time. Third, do not exceed the time limit. And fourth, there is no reply speeches for any category. All right. Kaushiki ma'am, as you adjudicate, please kindly take the notes of the timekeeping. And with this, I would like to hand over the room to you, Kaushiki ma'am. All the best, everyone.
Thank you so much, Devika, for that wholesome introduction. Hi, I hope I'm audible to both the teams, proposition and opposition. Just give me a thumbs up. Great.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Amazing. Right. How are you all doing? Are you nervous? Are you anxious? A little, right?
Yes,
Make
ma'am.
sure that you have a glass of water. Yep, go ahead. Okay, cool. I would like to wish you all the luck. Remember, when you are going ahead and opting for an activity called debating, it's very intellectual. It literally shapes your mind. It really literally shapes your opinions, right? Whenever you come to an age of, let's say, 20, 25, 30, you will be making more informed decisions with the help of this activity. And with that being said, debating is a very intellectual activity, but also very engaging sports, right? Which is to say, one team can lose, one team can win. It depends on the kind of argumentations that you present, right? And also make sure debating is a virtuous cycle, which is to say, you will never go down the drain when you debate, right? You will be only climbing up the ladders of success with the help of debating. So great that you've taken the first step of success of to do this activity, and the second great step of actually coming and participating in IDL. Thank you for the organization to a larger extent. With that being said, I'll tell you the time. Yes. Any doubts till now? No, right? Everybody's pretty much clear, right? Timekeeping. You all have 3 minutes. The first speaker, second speaker, third speaker from the side proposition and vice versa have 3 minutes to complete their argumentations, right? Now you will have to look at me, which is to say you will be preparing your argumentation and also speaking it out loud, right? By the end of 3 minutes, I will literally show you my hands, which is to say I'm not writing you anymore apart from the time which has been exhausted, right? So if you extend your time by 3 minutes, I will stop writing and I will show you the hands, which is to say your time's up and you have to move to the next participant and the speaker, right? Remember, do not exceed the time, considering we have time constraints and everybody has to like have dinner and sleep.
Ma'am,
So that's very important. Yep, go ahead. Any doubt?
ma'am, I was just saying, can we take some time to remove our nervousness before we start speaking?
Yep, sure. So we'll do this activity like for 2 minutes maximum, right? Cool. So everybody close your eyes. Close your eyes. Everybody, do not cheat. Close your eyes. Right. Breathe in. Like take the longest breath that you can. Like in. Just like inhale a lot. Take the most breath in. Fill your lungs. And as you've taken the longest breaths, make sure that you hold it for 2 seconds. 1, 2, release. Like release is with a gusp. Like everybody has to hear, like everybody around you have to hear that you've released a breath. That is where your exhaustion levels is getting released. Do it like twice. Inhale, hold for 2 seconds, and exhale. Like dump it. And also make sure you have a glass of water with you, right? At any point of time, do not be nervous, right? It's just 3 minutes. It's going to be fun. 3 minutes of you going ahead and having the most spotlight and presenting the most amazing case. Remember that, right? And also make sure that everybody is here to learn, right? Great, we are all debaters, we are great speakers, but we have to also understand that debating is a very, let's say, a pedestalized activity. Not to say that everybody is pretty much bad. Everybody is here to learn, which is to say actively engage with each other, right? Actively listen to what your opposition has to say. Do not neglect what your other side has to say, which is your opposing team, at any point of time. Do not underestimate the other team, right? Which is where my journey comes into being, which I will tell you post the debate. First, I hope nobody's anxious, nervous. Cool. Do we have a glass of water with you? Right. 3 minutes, let's do it. 3 minutes, just 3 minutes, you have to do it. Great. I hope the timekeeping is clear. Look at me. Make sure that you're engrossed in your documents. I understand. But make sure that you do not exceed the time limit, right? Nobody can speak for 4 minutes, 5 minutes. It's going to give an unfair advantage to other speakers who have created a 3-minute speech, right? So make sure, stick to the time limit, right?
Also, Kaushiki, just to clarify, anything that you're speaking beyond the 3 minutes is not considered, right? So you can finish the sentence you were making, but it doesn't matter, save the energy. All right, best of luck. Let's begin. We are excited to hear you all.
Right, let's go, team Rajasthan and team Madhya Pradesh. With that being said, I will now be inviting the first proposition speaker. Introduce yourself and then we'll begin the timer. Just give me a self counter, 3, 2, 1, and then you can begin.
Hello everyone, my name is Kushi. I'm the PM of Team Rajasthan. And with that, I would like to start my debate in 3, 2, 1. Before starting my debate, let's discuss the topic for today. The topic for today is reserved seats on the basis of domicile in cities known for higher education. It means that if a citizen has lived in the state for several years, then he gets the right to get admission in good colleges in his state rather than other states. Now, let's see some tech terms. The tech term for today is domicile. It means a particular residence or an identity of a person. And here I begin to present my arguments. Domicile benefit as in many ways for people who are physically challenged, as they would not have to migrate from their native places where they are, and they could get easily admission in their state because of domicile. The object classification in domicile resolution is to help the residents some extent in getting jobs, less crime and less poverty in the state because of domicile. If I have a domicile certificate, the place favors me because the kind of practice is mostly performed in many universities. So, if I live in Rajasthan and I am familiar with the laws and the facilities, so the university will have no problem in tracking my background or teaching me. As if I lived in Delhi, they would have problems tracking my background or on teaching me will be easier because as I said, I'm familiar with the state. And besides, domicile is going as a good thing, and we should not stop a good thing. When it's going, I don't see a problem in domicile. My question arises. Many states are looking forward to domicile. People are agreeing to this because it's a good thing. Then why we should stop it? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much first proposition speaker, Team Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh. All the best. Just give me a countdown. Whenever you're ready. Inviting the first opposition speaker whenever you're ready. Just give me a countdown. I'll begin the timer.
I think she has a network issue. It will take her a bit of time.
All right.
All to Kusha Buja.
Team Madhya Pradesh is your first team member here.
I'll begin in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, my dear friends. This house would not reserve seats on basis of domicile. Now, what is domicile? Domicile is a place a person calls home or their true residence after living in it for more than 5 years. Well, now I begin my arguments. We do not support this for 3 reasons. My first reason is that it is unfair to students coming from outer cities. People who have worked so hard to get here, have worked day and night, have stayed up all night to study to get to a university, and then you decline them because all your seats are full for outsiders? How unfair is that? In the Article 243 of the Constitution, it clearly states that all citizens of India should be treated equally. All right. Now, next, universities are missing out on a great fortune because it has been scientifically proven that people coming from outside cities pay more than normal domicile cities do. So, if a college shoots down the idea of outsiders attending their university, they will be missing out on a complete fortune. This brings me to my third point. Okay, 1, it is not an enforceable law. And also, there are teachers coming from all over the world to teach students in a certain university. Why shouldn't the students of different places benefit from that as well? Here I end my argument. Thank you.
Thank you so much, first opposition speaker. With that being said, I would like to invite the second proposition speaker here whenever you're ready.
You are saying to opposition speaker or proposition speaker?
Okay, so I thank the first opposition speaker. They ended their speech. Now I'm inviting the second speaker from the side proposition, Rajasthan.
Namaste to all my dear friends and teachers. My name is Arihant. I am the second proposition speaker. My role is to extend the case and to present two arguments. I totally agree with my PM that opponents to you and substitute opposition speech. I will debate the opposition side and present my points and crediting importance argument. I am the DPM of the Rajasthan team and I will describe our topics further. As we know, the chances of anyone getting in law university is rather thin, and by reports, university don't much effort in choosing the students, and most of the students are of their own state. So this just the cherry on the top of our argument. India is also not advanced seat being reserved by the domicile way is somehow correct, and it is fine as it is going unlike America or for foreign country where orders are processed quickly. It is not the same case in India. If this topic rises fire, there will be protest by the millions of students. The people would be involved in court, orders will be passed, etc. This practice, this, this practice will easily take 4 to 6 years, and even when you take this from another person's point of view, it will be correct as well. And as my PM stated, the object of clarification in the domicile resolution is to help the residents in getting jobs, less crime and less poverty in the state. These kind of things will be more of a eye-catching do this eye-catching controversy for India, another than a success for our educational system. My question is, how do this process without causing any problem? Some so me Arihant supports my PM and am in favor of this topic. Thank you. And now the answer of that question that your country or your state or any other thing where you live, there was not much education improved than Rajasthan. So you came to Rajasthan. So the first priority gives to the Rajasthan and the Indians because they they are living there. They had the course and they had the pattern to know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, second proposition speaker, for that fine speech. With that being said, I will now be inviting the second opposition speaker whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I'll be starting in 3, 2, and 1. Good morning, one and all. I'm Anshuman Pandey, the second opposition speaker from Team Madhya Pradesh. Supporting my LO and being the DLO, I want to say that if the university opens seat for all, they will have more capable people. Because of domicile, what is happening? Capable people are not getting admission in universities, and the people who are not capable are getting admission there. Now, it is not like that a person living in a state of India is only called Indian, while the other person living outside that state of India will be not called as Indian. And because of domicile, our right of liberty is being abolished. Like America, it is the most powerful and developed country in the world. And why it became so developed and powerful? Because USA invited and attracted people across the world to come and education there. So with students going there, they brought new talent, new innovation, and opening seats would also help university gain more profit. Why? Because domicile people have to pay less as compared to people coming from outside. And now it also helps them to resist high pressure, because at the end what will happen? The jobs will have high pressure. And now, as I was saying, we get a domicile certificates if we live at that particular state for 5 years. But what mostly happens with people, they get transfer in 3 years. So they won't be able to get domicile certificate. Hence, they won't be able to get higher education. And now, if a person is there at a corner of a world, so and a domicile person, so both of them came, studied together, and now what, it's not like that the person who is domiciled to that place and studied there will own. Okay, so
All right, thank you so much, second opposition speaker, for that fine speech. With that being said, I will now be inviting the whip from the side proposition. Whenever you're ready.
Yes, ma'am, can you hear me?
Clearly.
Okay. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Imad and I'm the GW of the Rajasthan team. I'll give my biased adjudication and continue this argument by being on the proposition side. Okay, 3, 2, 1. My team stated that while the domicile way of reserving seats is true and satisfying the way it's going, my team and I didn't mean to say that states that are illiterate and some are very literate, our country has an abundance of talent, skill, and knowledge. It's not like we have a particular state with a monopoly of talent, but it has been equally distributed within the country. So there are bound to be some debates here and there within the states like we're doing right now. But these debates are done on social platforms like Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, etc. For example, Rajasthan has a better literacy rate than Uttar Pradesh, and the law colleges are in Rajasthan. Excuse me. And the law colleges are in Rajasthan. The Rajasthan colleges will automatically choose the candidates with a better literacy rate, and that's also a big reason why good colleges are in Rajasthan. As my teammates stated, that the process is good and it's going fully. I fully support this argument because by viewing a political crisis, we all know the state of our country in these things is very poor. And why spark unnecessary controversies? Why spark unnecessary topics? So me and my team also stated that if you live in a state for several years, you get a domicile certificate and you somehow have rights that you get admission in a favorable institute. So me and my team's biggest question is, why stop anything that's going in a good rate? Why cause unnecessary drama? Why cause unnecessary controversies? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Government Whip, for that fine speech from the side proposition, obviously. With that being said, I will now be inviting the last speaker from the entire house, which is the opposition whip, side opposition, whenever you're ready.
Ma'am, we have 2 minutes to.
Sure.
Ma'am, may I start?
Yes, you can. Just give me a countdown.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'll introduce and then I'll give the countdown. Good evening, everyone. My name is Adya Mishra, the OW of the opposition of Madhya Pradesh team, and I begin my debate in 1, 2, and 3. As my fellow teammates discussed, the reservation policy will lead to admission of less meritorious students when meritorious students are available only because they are not resident of the particular state. It would be against the national interest and the natural interest. In this era of globalization, we are talking about reserving seats based on domicile. Brilliant students should not be excluded from getting deserved share of education because of geographical backgrounds. Exclusion of more brilliant students on the basis of domicile would promote substandard candidate and is injurious to the very region. When state considers admission to higher education based on domicile, they consider that students will stay in the state and provide their services to state. Various surveys have reflected that very high majority of individuals getting admissions under domicile reservation quotas after graduation pursue their career in different states or in fact different countries owing to globalization. We talk about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Domicile reservation defeats the purpose. If we want to stay in the same state where they belong to, they will not be able to adapt to the competition outside this stage when they apply jobs outside the state. This will in turn bring anxiety and irritation in the minds of students and further decline their productivity. We oppose this motion. Therefore, we oppose this motion if the state government makes laws to favor students on national platform. This would be like state becoming separate entity from union, which is forbidden. I rest my points here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Opposition Whip, for that fine speech. With that being said, we've come to the end of this round. And again, congratulations for being very engaging, being very enthusiastic, and presenting the best that you can. Like, congratulations. Cool. Can we have a round of applause for you guys for like making sure that you did not sleep in this round? Great. Clap for yourself. Right. Now, as an adjudicator, I have a duty to make sure that you have a verdict at the end of the day. And I will be going off for like 5 minutes. Till then, Ogli can take up. Thank you so much for the Also, you guys from the different teams can do a virtual handshake, right? How do you do a virtual handshake? It is how do you do that? Okay, I'll just write it. It's called both of the teams writing good game at the end of the debate. Like both of these teams write it in the chat box, good game, which is to say you go ahead and say GG. GG is basically good game. GG, great. This entire process is called virtual handshakes, right? If you were in offline tournaments, which is to say if you were live there sitting across to each other, you would have gone ahead and maybe hugged or maybe just like shook hands. But because of COVID, we have all of this. But so yes, how do we initiate a virtual handshake? By saying GG. Great, I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. So, how was everyone's experience? Did you enjoy it? Did you learn new things?
Ma'am, enjoyed.
Great. I do see the stress of the results coming
Ma'am,
out,
we
but
learned about a new law.
perfect. How wonderful is that? And also, the ma'am, Kaushiki ma'am, told you how to appreciate after the round. That was new, all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So I do see nervousness on the faces, but nevertheless, it was a great round. We'll just give ma'am her time to deliberate the result.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, please go ahead.
Ma'am, I wanted that. Will we get our results today only? Like, ma'am's taking a time, so will we get our feedback today only?
Hello teams. Can one of representatives from each of the teams, which is to say Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, can write it in the chat box which of the speakers went first, second, and third from your teams? Just write their names. Like, hey, Adya went as opposition whip, and somebody can write it like which speakers were going second or third, like with names. Make sure we do not have multiple texts.
All right, so I do hear a query for the results. So ma'am is going to give you the feedbacks and we will be declaring the results on the group very shortly.
Hello, I hope I'm clearly audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Amazing, great. So I'm ready with my feedback and also the verdict. Right. Cool. Uh, right. Before I say anything, I just want to congratulate everybody. I know you guys are like really, really excited to know the verdict. I know it's like when I was like 4, 5, and maybe at the age of 11, 12, I was very excited to know the results because the results was somehow related to how I am as a person, right? Which is to say, if I lose in any competition, I literally judged myself. Like, hey, I'm a really bad person if I did not win this tournament, right? This is a stereotype. This is also a very debating stereotype and also very sporty stereotype. What do I mean by that? Let's take an example. If I go ahead and let's say lose in a tournament, let's say football or even debating, right? I'll judge myself very hard. I'll cry in a room for let's say 40 minutes and force myself to say that I was a very bad person to even go ahead and participate in the very first place. I couldn't do this thing. I was literally finding flaws with myself, which is a really bad thing. Why? Why do I think it's a very bad thing? It's a stereotype. Why do I think it's necessary to break that stereotype? Remember, whenever you lose something, you do not have to associate your loss with your identity, which is to say, if I'm Kaushiki, if I'm going ahead and losing a debating tournament, I do not have to question my existence. I have to simply question the way I lost it and not myself, right? Remember, if any of the sides today are losing, you do not have to go ahead and say that I was a very bad speaker, you guys were great. This entire round was very close, which is to say one team is winning this round today. They are merely winning the round on 0.5 or 0.25. Very close, right? You do not have to go ahead and make sure that you do not go ahead and, let's say, belittle yourself, right? Reminder, go ahead, do not target your identity over something that you've lost, which is to say, target the process. You've won something, and make sure, even if you go ahead and win something, do not make yourself feel entitled that you're supposed to win every round, right? Make sure that you're humble. Even if you win, you are still very confident. You still have high levels of self-esteem even when you go ahead and lose something, right? Make sure, do not attack your identity, attack the process that you lost. With that being said, I will try to give a general feedback. This debate was, I would say, a good debate, very engaging debate. I could sense from the very first speaker, which is to say Prime Minister. When I say Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, Government Whip, I say it is meant for Rajasthan, right? Because they were the government proposition, right? When I say LO, DLO, and opposition whip, it means I'm talking about Madhya Pradesh, right? From the very get-go, I get a level of argumentation which is heavily involved in contestation. What do I mean by that? Every house was going ahead and interacting with themselves, which is to say, no house was going ahead and being very parallel, right? Everybody was going ahead and engaging with it. You had rebuttals, you had great argumentations, which is to say, this entire debate wasn't that bad. It was good. It was a good metric to even judge that debate, right? Now, starting with the speaker feedback, I will go individually as to which team did what and which speaker did what, right? This will also cover the feedback, and it will also make you sort of identify where is my constructive lagging, right? Constructive lagging is basically my flaws, or let's say the scope of improvement to a larger degree, right? PM, the first speaker from the side proposition says that, hey, this is what domicile means to me. Domicile is the state or the place where I'm literally residing. For instance, if I am Kaushiki, I'm being born in Bombay, I'm the domicile citizen of Bombay, right? I'm just staying here for, let's say, 15, 20 years. This is where I get a definition from them, which is a good thing, right? Now, 3 points of argumentations that I get from the Prime Minister. They talk about, hey, domicile is very important for safeguarding the rights of marginalized communities, which is to say, if I'm physically disabled, if I am on a wheelchair, and I really want to study or pursue higher studies, which is to say, my friend who's like, let's say, 5 years old, 10 years old, and are not in a situation to go ahead and ably transport to different college by walking, they're disabled. That is why domicile status or domicile reservation in different universities give them a scope of education. Very good point, good engagement. Secondarily, they talk about employability, they talk about less poverty, they talk about less corruption. Why giving domicile citizenship, or let's say domicile reservation, to a higher degree of university gives you a status of going ahead and having that ambit of educating yourself, right? For instance, something that I get from the side proposition from the first speech. What does then the opposition brings me, right? First speaker from the opposition says that, hey, I concede to the fact, which is to, I agree to the definition that they are talking about, right? You also agree to the fact that, hey, it's a residence that I'm talking about. Secondarily, what are the points of argumentations that you bring? 3. First, which is unfair. It can be very unfair. Like, okay, I am coming from Rajasthan, or let's say I'm coming from Chennai to study in Delhi. The chances of me going ahead and opting for education in higher universities is very, very difficult, considering I have to cross the reservation, which is me giving no access to the gateway, or let's say the gateway of me having education to a larger degree, right? This becomes problematic on 2 levels. Equal opportunities being not provided, and the constitutional right, which is 243 of the Indian Constitution, is being mentioned by the second speaker of the opposition, is getting denied. Good framing, fundamentals, and principles that you learned about. Thirdly, you talk about enforceability, like how it cannot be a rule. Now, something that point in both of these teams is the first half, which is to say first proposition speakers and first opposition speakers. You have to make sure that you do not assert something. Assert is claiming words. Like, hey, when Prime Minister goes ahead and talks about less corruption, you have to tell me how, why, when, what. You just simply say, hey, it will be less corrupt in my state. How? Even if you go ahead and talk about Delhi, Delhi is considerably higher on corruption rates. If I go ahead and give a reservation, will I mean that I will be reducing levels of corruption? Yes, okay, a far-fetched idea, but you have to tell me how is that corruption getting reduced by giving me reservations. And also, it was a this house would motion, which is to say you had to give me a model. What do I mean by a model as to how will you do that reservation in the first place? Which is to say the proposition has to tell me, not a compulsion, what part of reservation do you want? Do you want a 10% reservation? Do you want a 20% reservation? Do you want a 50% reservation? Do you want a 100% reservation? Obviously, 100% reservation cannot happen, right? So it has to be either 25% of reservation for domicile residents, which is to say, if I'm from Delhi, I will still be applicable for going ahead and reserving the seat in a higher university, let's say Delhi University, right? You have that reservation, something you wanted to tell me, but couldn't, but I do get it. Kids, no, nothing. Cute, very nice, but still a very good argumentation, right? Now going ahead and telling you what opposition does me. Opposition gives me good impacting, right? Now here's the thing. When you go ahead and tell me it will not be enforceable, right? It will not be a norm. It will be a norm. It will prohibit people from going ahead and opting in higher educations. You have to tell me how is that happening? Considering I'll take a best case from the side government, which is to say they have 10% reserved seats for domicile residents. How is that unfair on different people who are coming in, right? You still have reservation in the status quo, right? You still have PWD reservation, you still have SC/ST reservations, you still have marginalized communities having a reservation of more than 75% in colleges. How is that bad for people who want to come in and study in the domicile state to a larger degree? Which is to say, if I'm from Chennai and if I still have a reservation intact in my state, how is that impacting my opportunities of going ahead and educating myself, right? Sure, it will be very competitive. Sure, it will become very, very difficult for you to get in that university. But how is that affecting my chances of getting good education, right? That is something that you had to tell me to a larger degree, and why it is going ahead and discriminating me on equal opportunities, right? So you had good ideas, but again, assertions are something that I like, but claiming or going ahead and mechanizing me, like telling me why is that a question, right? Make sure in the case preparation or whenever you go ahead and interact with your team members, go ahead and try to question everything that you say, right? Which is to say, do not question yourself, question the points that you're coming in, like how is that denying equality, question mark, how, why, what, and give me that layers of mechanization. Cool. What is then the second participant, or let's say the second speaker of the side proposition gives me? Second side of the propositions tells me that, hey, anybody in the state, or let's say anybody in the entire country, can still go ahead and opt for education. That is something that can be relevant, right? Again, they did not explicitly state me the status quo, which is what is happening in the current world, right? You still have reservations, but they told me that, hey, we are not denying employability opportunities, we are not denying education opportunities to anybody. It's accessible to everybody. It's just that we want extra protection, extra safeguarding for the residents who have been living in that state. And then they give me analysis to why is that a necessary, right? Again, something that I was expecting from the side proposition, which is to say the DPM. When the first speaker from the side proposition, okay, Khushi, was it you? Right. When Khushi goes ahead and tells me, hey, there will be less poverty, less corruption, the second speaker from the side proposition, Arihant, you had to tell me, why is that a necessity, right? Why are you going ahead and reducing crime levels? Why are you going ahead and improving the levels of employability, right? It was something that was only reiterated and not something analyzed, right? You had to give me more examples, right? When you go ahead and tell me that, hey, there will be a lot of protests, people will not be agreeing to give up their domicile citizenship, people will not be able to give up their reservation, considering the first speaker already told me that, hey, there will be people who are physically disabled who would want to go ahead and opt for education in higher universities. Now, this is where your helping of the resident comes into place. For instance, if I'm from Jammu and Kashmir, which is a very volatile state, right? And at this point of time, if I do not protect the citizens of my state, I will be literally making sure that it do not open opportunities of exploration. right? So you have to make sure that you quote examples for me to supplement your argumentations, right? What does then the DLO tell me? DLO comes and says good points, like a good level of argumentation that I get from DLO is, hey, this is where the entire debate becomes very close to me, right? DLO comes in and says that, hey, you are denying education to capable people, right? Which is to say, you also bring in second level of argumentation that, hey, if you go ahead and do this reservation, you will be denying education opportunities to, let's say, brilliant kids who want to come from different states. Now, again, that's a problem. How can you go ahead and tell me that there are no brilliant kids in their own state, which is to say the domicile state? I can be very intelligent in Bombay, and there are literally different peoples or different intelligence levels in the entire country in India, right? You have to understand that there is no one country, there's no one state which has less intelligence. Sure, literacy rates are down, but you cannot generalize, avoid generalizing, right? You have to be very specific at this point of time, right? Now, DLO in the same breath goes ahead and tells me that yes, if you go ahead and reserve these seats, you will be going ahead and inviting more not capable people, which is to say these kids will not be brilliant, these kids will not be somebody who can be termed as, let's say, more intelligent, more intellectual, right? These people will only be there just because they have rights, so that's just because they have reservations. Sure, I get it, I know I'm getting boring, but we have to get this. I'm just trying to analyze everything here, right? Cool. Secondarily, they tell me that, hey, you are reducing liberty. Now, at this point of time, again, this is an assertion. You had to tell me what is liberty. What is liberty in the context of the debate? You cannot quote me examples of United States of America. Sure, you've quoted me the examples of United States of America, which is where liberty as a concept has emerged. But again, you had to like conceptualize that American or westernized concept to the Indianized version, considering America has a homogeneous population and India has different intersectionalities, caste, class, gender, and all of these factors, right? So you had to explain me why that liberty is getting pretty much happy, or let's say liberty getting exponentially high on your side, right? Thirdly, they talk about more educational prospects. Fourthly, they bring a very good point, which is gaining profit. Like domicile people are obliged to give less fees to higher universities, considering they are from the residents themselves. That is the norm, right? But something they had to tell me again, why is domicile citizens paying less to universities, and why is bringing more people from different states gonna suddenly make the university in that state rich, right? So you had to make sure that, hey, if I'm studying University of Delhi, and if I'm going ahead and employing, let's say, 10% of reservation to domicile residents, I will be getting the fees from them. But how is that fees getting exponentially high when you bring in loads of people from other states, considering they will also be coming, right? The government at no point of time is going ahead and denying any sort of, let's say, educational opportunities to non-domicile residents. They are doing so, but there's a reservation, right? So the gaining of profit is very symmetric on both of these sides, right? Fifth, they talk about resisting high pressure. Again, what is this high pressure all about? Sixth, they talk about domicile certificates. Good point, that is rebutted by government whip. I'll tell you how. Now government whip enters the debate. Whoosh. Cool. Now, what does the government whip do me? Government whip sort of goes ahead and rebuts certain factors, which is to say they called out the generalization, which is to say there is lots of talent in India. It's just that certain states have limited literacy levels, but something that you cannot like generalize, which is to say some people are less intelligent, some people are highly intelligent. Sure, every state has their own population of highly intelligent people, or let's say individuals who have been facing with some, let's say, ADHD, dyslexia, or all of these issues to a larger degree, right? Now, in a state in Rajasthan, or let's say in Delhi, if I am a person who's suffering from dyslexia, and if I'm not given any sort of rights or reservations, I will not be able to apply to Delhi University, considering I will have to go ahead and beg to different colleges to take me to admissions on the basis of reservations, right? How is that something that's protected? On the side opposition had to tell me, right? That is the burden they had to defend, right? Government whip also rebuts their point of domicile certificates, which is to say domicile certificates, sure, does domicile certificates give you an opportunity to apply to different colleges? does it give you? So that's a sort of a question that you sort of go ahead and answer to me to a larger degree. And also the government talks about resources. Why resources in higher university education platforms is very important, which is to say you will have higher levels of protest, which is to say there will be social media backlash. Like Instagram, people on Twitter will be going ahead and flooding text like, how can you take away our reservation? How can you deny us reservation when we are the citizens of our state in and of itself, right? Now coming to opposition whip. Opposition whip, nice, beautiful speech. Again, opposition whip goes ahead and supports the DLO, which is what they have to do, right? Something that you have to do is maintain the case consistency. You cannot go ahead and literally deny whatever your first speaker or whatever your second speaker has said, which is what the opposition whip does. Opposition whip tells me that, hey, there will be less meritorious student suddenly coming in, which is to say, if you go ahead and reserve something, less meritorious student will be getting the seats and good people will be getting out of the colleges. Again, why and how? Considering we've already established that every state has good people, every state has bad people, right? I'm so sorry, my just laptop slipped away. Cool. Now here's the thing. Now every state, again, this is a generalization. You did not have to generalize something. Why is reserving a seat inviting people who are less meritorious? If I'm reserving a seat in any college, I will try hard to make sure that I set a percentage, like a 99 percentage, a person who's like in a wheelchair, who is good in academics, but they cannot walk considering they are physically disabled. They can be very intelligent, but just because of the circumstances, just because of the situations they are in, I cannot get into college, which is where meritorious student is something which is there, but they can't go so. Right. So at this point of time, less meritorious student, or let's say good meritorious students, is something that becomes very symmetric, which is to say there are students on both of these sides of the houses, but make sure that you do not generalize at any point of time, right? Also, you go ahead and go ahead and analyze why these national interests will be justified, like national interest will be violated on the government side. Again, you have to tell me why national interest comes into a debate, right? Which is to say, opposition whip, at no point of time the third speaker can bring in new material, right? Opposition whip has to always make sure, both of these whips and the teams have to make sure that you summarize the case, that you provide a biased adjudication. You do not go ahead and present an entirely new material, right? It becomes very difficult for somebody to engage that. For instance, opposition whip was the last speaker and they talked about national interest, which was not brought in any of the two speeches. I hope you agree, right? Now it becomes very, very difficult for, let's say, the government whip to go ahead and engage in that new point, considering that new point will not be addressed in any of these speeches, considering they are the last speaker, right? Now, going ahead with the three factors you give me, which is exclusion of brilliant kids. Again, I don't understand why. You talk about substandard states, again, a generalization. You talk about domicile states, again, a good point that you brought in. Hey, domicile citizens, even if they are having a reservation, they will be going ahead and having jobs in different states. Sure, I understand that. But again, why is reservation hindering that, right? Again, if domicile residents can go ahead and have job in different states, sure, different states, and the students can come in and study in different domicile states in and of itself, even after having a reservation, right? So you have to explain the exclusivity, like why is that a reservation becoming a hindrance to more job or hindrance to more employability opportunities, right? With that being said, on a very close metric, which house takes the debate? I'll just like do a drum beat. Okay, the debate is taken by the side proposition on simply defending the marginalized sections and making sure that you have a reservation which safeguards the domicile residents to even get employability opportunities. Sure, there were assertions on both of these sides, but on a very close metric, opposition, you were literally a 0.25 close to take this debate. But again, you had to tell me why less brilliant kids are more getting into reservation. That was a generalization. You had to make sure that you give me enough impacting, right? With that being said, open to any and all questions. Any questions?
Ma'am, so team Rajasthan won.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, and thank you.
Right, opposition, you were great, but again, I told you 0.25 difference. It was a good debate. Any questions? Anything that you want to say? Okay, I can see somebody dancing. Sure, but opposition, great speeches, like good speech. Right. Any questions? Anything that you want to make sure you have individual feedbacks? how to make sure that opposition can improve, and also government, you can also improve with the kind of impacting, right? Yep. Thank you so much for joining. And I congratulate Team Rajasthan, and also I give my commiserations to opposition. Good. Clap for yourself. Nice. Thank you so much. Yep, Ogly, you can take up.
Great. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining in. It was a wonderful debate, and all the best. Kudos to all the efforts taken.
Can we leave?
Yes, you may.
Hello, thank you so much for joining. You are free to leave the meet. Right. Hello.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining it. It was a wonderful match, and yeah, great meeting you as well.
Right. So I will be joining again when?
You can join back at 7:05, 7:10. That works.
Cool. I'll be staying here.
In this meet, or maybe we can join back at 7 if that works, because I'll just end it right now.
Cool. My mic might like stop working, hence I'm staying in this meet.